What is going on, guys? This is Miasin, and today I really wanted to let you guys know how I felt about Nibiru, which is obviously one of the most popular hand traps ever since it existed, and probably always will be, honestly. I mean, when you got a card that can be used from the hand that can tribute everything on the field during either player's turn, whenever, you know, your opponent normal or special summon 5 or more monsters this turn, it's usually destined for greatness, but there are obviously some downsides to this card. And I want to say we are getting to the point where the card is just so good that it ends up being a little less good because of how good it is. People just respect it so much, and everybody kind of has a game plan with Nibiru. Either they're trying to summon less than 5 times, or once they get to their 5th summon, or sometimes even before that, they put themselves in positions where they can easily recover from Nibiru, and that Nibiru just, it's not enough anymore. So that's why maybe sometimes relying on other hand traps can be a little better. Anyways, before diving into any of these explanations, I would really appreciate you guys even more if you could smash the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much. And also shoutouts to my sponsors Inspire TCG as well as Dueling. And also check out my coaching in the description box below as always, because yes, I do that now. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Alright, so first things first, there are a lot of really good hand traps at the moment. There is Nibiru, obviously, and then there's Ash, Veiler, Imperm, and Mourner. They're pretty much in the same category because they are considered the small hand traps. But yeah, Veiler, Imperm, pretty much almost the same card. Mourner, just kind of like a worse version of these two. Sometimes a little better depending on your usage. For example, under Shifter, Mourner is good, but Veiler is useless. So if you're playing against Dinomorphia and they summon their Rextrum, then Mourner can be good, and they can play around Imperm by only summoning it when you control a card on the field. And Veiler obviously would be 100% useless in this situation. And then there's also Dueling Logbird, which is pretty much in the same category as Nibiru. It is considered a big hand trap. It's a go big or go home kind of card. It either resolves to do a lot, or it just doesn't do anything at all. And against the pure Snake Eyes deck, this card, it's pretty bad. Horrendous, actually, I'd say. And then we also got the Bestial Monsters and everything that just interacts with the graveyard, so Ghost Bell, DD Crow. There is really no reason for me to cover them, but the Bestials are particularly interesting this format because they hurt way more decks than people actually think. For example, they're decent against pure Snake Eyes because they do the combo where they summon Flamberge and then they have IP Masquerade in the graveyard, so they try to put it back from the graveyard in the spell and trap zone, and then you can Bestial them. And if you also got something to like interact with the Appaloosa, then they literally have nothing. Or if they only had like Populous as their 1-card combo, then the Bestial is just going to be pretty much like a game-ending card against them. And also this card is really good against the other decks. So everything that you're seeing here pretty much except for Flunderies. So Bestials are nice against Despia, even if they have the Tri-Brigade Mercurier. Because you can try to Bestial on their end phase and then they have to negate. And then you can Bestial again on your turn. So it's a double usage card. Even if they negate, usually the cards that negate, they don't destroy. I mean, not really, but you know, that one in particular, that's how it works. And against Silent Forcer or Voice's Voice, Bestials are also fine. At least usually the Bestials will kind of do something. It's not like Nibiru that literally achieves nothing against everything that you're seeing here, right? So yeah, Labyrinth, and then Voice's Voice, Flunderies, as well as Despia. They summon way less than 5 times per turn for the most part. Sometimes Flunderies, they might get to like a few summons because of Empen, but unless they're trying to go for like 2 Empen, that's usually not gonna happen. But yeah, currently we are seeing, I mean, a shift in the format, or rather a deck building, where people are kind of dropping Nibiru from their main deck, and I said from their main deck, not from their deck entirely, because Nibiru is still at least seeing play in the side deck, at the very least. Like I said, this video is not about me thinking that this card is complete garbage, but just less good than people think. This card should still at least be in your side deck, but maybe consider main decking something else. There are some situations, by the way, where Nibiru, if it's your one and only hand trap, you're really going to be regretting it, and you really wish that it would be something else. So for example, if you're playing against pure Snake Eyes or even Farking Snake Eyes, whatever, if you're looking only at Nibiru and your opponent goes normal summon Snake Eye Ash effect, you're not going to be really happy because your opponent will still be able to IP into SPU, and that's not really in your favor. And your opponent can also kind of OTK you through Nibiru if you're not really careful, or at least, again, have a really good recovery. Like threaten lethal and then still be able to like make a few interruptions on your turn, even more if you hold your Nibiru for too long and you let them go into like Princess and stuff. So if anything, sometimes the correct move is actually to Nibiru them early, just so they don't have that extra fire, well, I mean, that extra Princess in the graveyard. But yeah, Snake Eye Ash Bonfire, pretty much the same thing. Those cards inherently play through Nibiru. Same thing again with Diabellstar and Wanted, and obviously even more for 1-for-1. Now for original, this card's weird because if you go like, let's say, normal summon Effect Veiler, and then make like a Link Rebo, and then activate original and summon Snake Eye Ash in the Fire King build, unless you're playing Divine Temple, which is this card right here, you're not going to be able to play around Nibiru very well. But if you are playing pure Snake Eyes, then playing around Nibiru is something that you're naturally doing, because the Divine Temple is your best friend at beating Nibiru. You're going to be placing the second Flamberge or something, and then you can just do your Snake Eye combo, and then you're going to be able to revive back the Flamberge off of this from the Spell and Trap Zone when you get Nibiru'd, and then you, again, place back the IP Masquerena. So it literally just does absolutely nothing. And it's not like the Nibiru really threatens anything. If they want to, like, run over the IP, I mean, they can't do that because the Divine, it's in the Spell and Trap Zone, and they can't really jump over Flamberge really well. I mean, they're gonna have to waste their battle phase to do literally nothing, and then your Divine Temple can still revive back the IP, even if they find a way to, like, destroy the Flamberge. So again, it's really not favorable for them. I mean, for you, I'm really stupid. But now, if you don't want to play Nibiru, and you want to play other hand traps, obviously there's these options, but you could also choose to play more kind of like board-breaking-esque cards, or cards that facilitate your combo, or that increase the consistency. So for example, Triple Tactic Talents and Combat Agree pretty much in the same category of doing almost the same thing, but not really. I'd say Crossout and Combat Agree are more similar, and Lullaby of Obedience is also one of the cards that can help you out a lot. So we are seeing less hand traps, I want to say, right now than before, because I remember YCS Las Vegas 3v3, 17 hand traps was almost like the norm to a certain extent. It was completely overkill, people were burking like crazy, but now we're seeing that a little less, because obviously some hand traps are way worse than others. Like Jewel and Logbird is being cut completely from the main deck, so that means that if you are playing 15 hand traps, you're probably doing 3 of each of these cards. Or maybe you're not doing that and you're playing Bestials, because we're also seeing a lot of pure Snake Eyes main deck Bestials. Like I said, it does make sense. But if you don't want to do that, you can actually stick to 12 hand traps and maybe play, I don't know, like 2 talents when called by, with 3 Crossout and some Lullabies, or any combination really. But Crossout, especially if you're playing pure Snake Eyes or Fire King Snake Eyes, is ridiculously good. If you're playing like one of these decks, for example, I don't think Crossout is good enough, because the only thing you're doing with Crossout is culling hand traps, or maybe like talents and Combat Agree, like generic cards. It's not really worth it. You really want to be able to call in engine cards. For example, if you want to use like Crossout defensively, your opponent goes like normal summon Snake Eye Ash, you can call Snake Eye Ash or activate Bonfire. Well, I'm calling Bonfire with Crossout because I'm playing the exact same cards as you. Same thing again with Diablo Star and Wanted, 1-for-1 even. Crossout is honestly just ridiculously good in a mirror match, but it's usually not a card worth main decking only for hand traps. Again, same logic. With Nibiru, you're trying to play Nibiru to really counter like 1 or 2 decks usually, but it's dead against almost everything else. Whereas these cards, on the other hand, are usually not dead against these decks. Obviously, Flunderies, they're gonna be really happy if you draw Ghost Mourner. Same thing with the Bestials. Drool, I mean, it can be good, but then Drool is also really bad against Flunderies, and it's not great against Despia, so there's obviously pros and cons to everything. Whereas again, Nibiru, it's a little more like obvious that it's going to be dead against, again, almost every single one-card combo in the Fire King deck and almost every single deck in the format. My argument for, again, not playing Nibiru in the main deck is, once you get to a certain round, you start playing against people who know exactly what they're doing. It's like muscle memory, where they're always doing the exact same combo over and over. They obviously are aware of the amount of summons they have done, and they also know when they're going to be making a negate for the Nibiru. And also, even if they don't have negates, again, they can float with the Divine Temple. The only way that you can see the pure Snake Eyes and Fire King Snake Eyes deck lose only to one Nibiru is if they have like Populace. And now you can use the argument of, yeah, what happens if you got Nibiru and Valor? It's usually always good to break boards. That is true. It is good. Obviously, you can hold until the very end. When they go like Appaloosa with like a big board and everything, you nib, and then they go Appaloosa negate, and then you chain Valor. But the issue with that is that if they got Crossout or Call by the Grave, then you completely lose, because you use 2 hand traps that did absolutely nothing. The Nibiru will be negated by the Appaloosa, and then the Valor, Imper, whatever will be negated by the Crossout. It's not ideal. Whereas if you use the Valor first, then your opponent goes for Crossout, and then you can still use Nibiru later down the line, and at least somewhat decrease the power level of your opponent's board. Again, this was also explained by Christian Urena in his deck profile, so it's not like I'm the only human on earth who thinks that way. A lot of people also agree with me on the fact that Nibiru just isn't good enough at this point, because it is an established format where people are 100% aware of how to counter it really efficiently. Even if you got like other hand shops, people look at their hands and they solitaired for hundreds of hours on, you know, solutions to countering this card. And in a world where people are not playing Nibiru, they have the space for more non-engine cards that are potentially good against hand shops, such as everything that you're seeing here, and that's going to be punishing you even more for holding your Nibiru for too long because your other hand shops are going to be doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, moral of the story, I don't necessarily recommend main decking Nibiru because of the amount of, well, I mean, the amount of times that it's not going to be, you know, super ideal, but post game 1, you definitely should, because your goal post game 1 is to have as many going second hand shop cards usually as possible. You don't really want to mix in hand shops and board breakers sometimes. It's not, you know, the greatest, but I can kind of see it. And also being able to Nibiru your opponent is one way towards beating summon limit as well, because now you've got a monster. So the next time you like normal summon anything, like you can normal summon the populace and then get your search, make a phoenix, destroy the summon limit, and that's 2 summons, and then you're free to play the game. So that's also very relevant. Nibiru and Bestials are great counters to summon limit as well. It's kind of like a 1-for-2 package deal, you know. I'm explaining a lot of the sauce right here. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions about Nibiru, some more arguments if you disagree with anything that I've said, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.